Heath here from pickinglessons.com. Fairmoy Lasses. This is a great reel. Here on the banjo, we're in standard tuning. The tune's in the key of E minor. In a moment, we're going to take a look at part A of the melody here in this video, but if you head to pickinglessons.com, you can grab yourself a copy of the tablature for this arrangement, and in the member section there will break down the remaining lesson for part B. You'll also have a play along and backing tracks there as well once you get to know the tune. Now, this is a fast tune, so we've got some challenges purely because it is so fast. We're going to break down the techniques. There are some challenging techniques anyway, but of course, once we wrap it up into that faster tempo, it is going to be quite an advanced tune to pick. Let's have a look at what's going on. Majority of this is melodic, but we have a bunch of single string that we need to play, and we hear that straight up from the beginning. So we have this nice little melodic run going into the first bar. So we're going to play that A up on fret 7 and then run down to the E in the first measure. So on count 4 we have 3, 4 and 1 and to the E. So a little bit of movement to get us going, but once we get to that E we need to prop. Now this is one of the challenges. Firstly, we want to get on top of playing this single string E. We're going to have that F sharp hammer on there at the end of the measure. So let's work through this first measure as an exercise. So this is an important one to get going. So let's talk about firstly just the right hand. Left hand's okay. Right hand. What we need to do here is we've got this single string movement starting with the index finger to the thumb, index to the thumb. I'd suggest index again, thumb, index with a hammer. So right hand, it's all in the tablature for left and right hands, the fingering, but let's go through this again. So index, thumb, index, thumb, index, thumb, index, hammer. Get those fingers going. So for the tempo, we really need to watch that we're getting that accurate. Let's roll this a couple of times, a little bit quicker. 2, 3, 4. 3, 4. One more time. So try to be closer to the bridge. The string tension's a little higher there. If you try to play this quicker up the neck, up towards the neck here, it is a bit harder to play. So certainly the extra tension for this tempo is going to be important. The tone's pretty cool there too for this as well, but that tension's a big factor, the string tension. Now, measure 2, we've got this melodic passage. So we're going to start off out of that hammer on from measure 1. We're going to stay in that position, and we have this melodic run through the second measure. So to play this passage, the fingering is from index to thumb, index to thumb. So open string is index, the thumb on the F sharp, index, thumb, index, thumb, index, thumb. So again, we're continuing that back and forth between the thumb and the index fingers. Let's put the first 2 bars together. We'll ignore the pickup note for the moment. So measure 1 and 2, 3, 4. One more time, 3, 4. All right, now, as you start to get to know this and piece this together, because we're playing this tune at quite a fast tempo, you really want to make sure you get to know from memory really well all the finger positions and make sure you're consistent with the right hand. That's really important. There's not going to be much time to think about it or get anything out of place. So really be mindful that we're locking into what we're doing here. Our third measure along is just a variation. So we're going to stay on the E for the whole measure. So we have the same fingering though. Just that thumb on the end there. There's no hammer on this time. So that, without the hammer on there, is kind of cool. We can just loop that. So let's try that for a moment. 3, 4. Just to get those 8th notes rocking along with that, alternating between the index and the thumb. Measure 4 here. To get the movement for the right hand more comfortably, we're actually going to double up our thumb. We're going to go index, thumb, thumb with a hammer, so 2 thumbs in a row, but that sets us up for the index, thumb, to finish off this melodic passage through that second half of the measure. You can try it some different ways with your fingers, but we kind of want to get some key moments at the right time, and so doubling the thumb up here is actually not that hard because we get that hammer on following. But then that leads us to that nice melodic section with the fingers in this sort of set out in a comfortable way. So from that fourth measure, let's try that a couple of times. 3, 4. One more time. 3, 4. At this point here, we do have somewhat of a repeat on the second half of this section. Measure 7 along. Measure 7, we have this one. So we've got a roll through here. So that open string, play with the index, open thumb with a hammer. 1, 2, and 3. Then that forward roll from that hammer on. So 1, 2, and 3, forward roll, but finish with your thumb. Finishing with your thumb means we can then start the next measure and use the same fingering. 8th measure here is like measure 4, and we can use this identical fingering. So keeping that consistent is important. So that's going to kick it off with the index finger, thumb, thumb, index, thumb, and so on. So if we piece measure 7 and 8 together, 3, 4, thumb, index. And it just means when we're playing this 4th and 8th measures, it's fingering wise for the right hand is going to be consistent. This measure also occurs twice in part B too, so we just want to keep that fingering consistent, make it so much easier. Let's have a slow play just once through. You have to repeat each section. Somewhat the melody is pretty straightforward, but it's very challenging at the tempo you've got to play. Some of those techniques are quite advanced, and of course with the tempo it just makes it somewhat very challenging. But let's have a slow run through just right now. Once you've done a bit of practice, perhaps you can come back through this, but we'll just run it slow together. So pick up notes on beat 4, 2, 3, 4. And then we have part A. Now, I would really encourage you to get to know these sections, these different measures that we broke down to memory. Making sure your fingering is really accurate and consistent in your right hand. Left hand's pretty straightforward, just watch those shifting into the melodic position up the neck. Do memorize it though and work on it at a slower pace until you really get familiar with it. Pickinlessons.com, you can grab the tablature for this arrangement. In the member section there, we will break down the remainder of this lesson for part B, and you do have the play along and backing tracks there also. So pickinlessons.com, I'll see you there.